Say hello to Arya. This is a loudspeaker that is designed to showcase holographic imaging and soundstage layering that has no rival. Standing 16 inches high, 8 inches wide, and 14 inches deep, and weighing in at 30 pounds each, this two-way stand mount speaker will soon be available to purchase exclusively at GR Research. At the time of this video, the ballpark estimate for the pair is around $3,500, and it will come in 3 different color options. Now, the unit that you see here is a prototype, and the finished speakers will look cleaner and less like something that we whipped up together in a garage. As of right now, the color options are shaping up to be white with oak side panels, black with walnut side panels, and a dark gray with stained cherry-like finish on walnut. It's also worth noting that Arya will exclusively use tube connector terminals, and while I do recommend getting yourself a pair of GR Research speaker cables to work with the tube connectors, I've never had an issue just using banana plugs with these, so that will work out just fine if that's what you want to do. These speakers should be available for purchase in the next few months, and here is the exciting part. These are just the first of 3 models that will carry the new Record Day stamp of approval, and it has been a joy to be a part of this project. So let's chat about that and also tackle some questions that you find folks are going to be asking me anyway. For the last decade, I have had the privilege of being a hi-fi reviewer, and I can honestly say this is my dream job. I have no desire to change what I do, and I also understand that collaborating with a manufacturer to create a speaker might blur those lines. When I first approached Danny with the idea of working together, I placed my trust in his ability to craft speakers that capture the essence of what I consider the pinnacle of hi-fi sound. At the same time, I made a conscious decision to forego any financial involvement in this project. And here's the thing, and this is straight from the heart, I genuinely couldn't care less about making a profit from this speaker. The opportunity to attach the new Record Day name to these models is a privilege in itself. Knowing that so many people will appreciate and love these speakers as much as I do is worth far more than a paycheck could ever be. Shortly after my review of the LGK 2.4 was published, I couldn't help myself. I grabbed a notepad and a pen, and I started sketching out some ideas based on that speaker. While I've come to expect high standards from GR Research, I must admit that it was the humble 2.4 that seriously surprised me. Using a wideband driver to cover the mid-range and top octave while maintaining a very low crossover point gave this speaker a cohesive presentation to die for. Even more, on the back of the 2.4, Danny employed a second LGK driver that plays only the top octave, and it adds a reflected ambience. This made this speaker sound much larger and much more interesting than it had any right to. So in the sketches that I worked on, I drew up a bookshelf concept that used the same driver configuration. However, instead of the woofers used in the 2.4, I suggested Danny uses his M130 or M165 paper cone offerings. On one of the sketches, I even took it a step further, why not, and I added the concept of open baffle bass below using his direct servo subwoofers that I love so much. When I finished these drawings, I sent them over to Danny using Facebook Messenger, and shortly he gave me a call. He was chuckling on the phone and he was like, "Dude, how about that? I've actually been thinking about the exact same thing." And folks, that is how our design goals began to take shape. So yeah, let's talk about that. All right, so I'm gonna level with you guys. I'm gonna be hyping the heck out of these speakers, and it is for a good reason. For me, Arya is the perfect stand mount loudspeaker, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect for you. So here's what we're going to do. we're going to be talking about all of the design goals, and I'm going to be hyping everything that I think that Arya is great at. But then I'm also going to be fair, and I'm going to be talking about design trade-offs, because here's the thing. I'm not interested, and I've never been interested in just selling stuff. It's why I don't get into like the whole Amazon thing and go crazy with like, buy this, buy this, buy this. That kind of makes me crazy. I don't want Arya to end up in the most homes. I want Arya to end up in the right homes. So let's go ahead and talk about all the design goals and then follow up with design trade-offs, and then we will send you guys on your way. All right, so Danny and I both agreed that we wanted to achieve as close to a linear sound signature as possible. At the same time, I heard a spacious and open sound with the 2.4s that I wanted to mirror and even improve upon with Arya's voicing. With the LGK 2.0 driver, there is an amplitude peak at the top octave, and it is inherent to the driver. So, while coming up with ideas on how we wanted to voice Arya, Danny worked on notch filters to bring this peak down and was successful in getting Arya to be completely linear from tip to tail. However, after listening to test beds where I could easily disable the notch filter, it became incredibly clear that in the case of Arya, the driver playing open on top was not only giving me what I was searching for, but it sounds absolutely stunning in the room. It's also important to note, this amplitude peak is very high in frequency, only covering the top octave. Also, there is no stored energy in the LGK 2.0 driver or anything that will ever sound forward or aggressive. So, what I'm going to call an enhanced response in Arya sounds airy and open without sounding artificial, and is easily one of the strongest attributes of this speaker's voicing. Adding the second LGK driver on the back, which is providing even more ambience, further enhances this experience and makes this somewhat small speaker sound much, much larger than it has any business being. Now, because Danny is already focused on soundstage and layering in all of his speaker designs, he already knew which components to reach for to take Arya to new heights and make this speaker not only disappear, but to leave you with the most holographic and engaging experience possible. Now, soundstage, or the listening arena where a speaker is invited to disappear, is very important to me, and this design goal was my #1 priority. Folks, when Arya is set up properly in a treated room and is given room to breathe, I can assure you with great confidence, there is no rival to its ability to create a lifelike holographic experience that is astonishing when the recording is up to task. There is no speaker that I have heard that tops what Arya can do in creating a three-dimensional sound field, and this speaker brings a new level of performance that I have yet to hear from any other speaker anywhere near its price point. As you guys already know, there are countless ways that reviewers can describe perfect imaging in a loudspeaker. We often hear terms like laser-like focus or rich and bold, and these phrases, ones that I've even used myself, tend to focus on the tone of the image being presented, giving us a general sense of where the imaging or vocal presentation is headed. But then there is Arya. Arya is the first speaker that I have heard that completely shifts the vocabulary when it comes to imaging, especially in terms of vocal content. With Arya, the singer is placed right in the room with you. isolated, clear, and fully realized. Forget about the creative writing and the long-winded nonsense. There are no fancy words that can capture the lifelike holographic rendering Arya is capable of. There are moments when the vocals are so realistic, so vivid, that it's almost unbelievable. Gone are the usual flowery terms to describe perfect imaging, and in their place, one word comes to mind: real. With Arya, the vocals and imaging simply sounds real. All right, before I dive into some of the design trade-offs of Arya, there is one more thing under the hood of Arya that we do need to talk about. While I can't get into specifics of this device, I can tell you that Arya is equipped with technology developed by Shunyata Research. Now, the technology that we're using in Arya has never been implemented in a speaker like this before. After spending some time listening to 3 different variations of this device, Danny and I both agreed that it elevated Arya to a whole new level. After selecting our favorite version, we were very pleased by how much this device enhanced Arya's focus, taking Arya's imaging to a place that we have never experienced in a loudspeaker until now. So as much as I would like to believe that Arya is a perfect loudspeaker, and perhaps for me it is, there are some trade-offs with this design that I'm happy to walk you through. First, Arya is not the most sensitive speaker on the block, and while Arya can dance with double-digit tube amplifiers, that would be the starting point to drive this speaker with success. Rated around 6 ohms and 85 decibels, getting Arya to sing to its full potential with a single-ended amplifier pushing just a few watts, I hate to say it, it's not going to happen. I have tried a number of amplifiers with these speakers, and I've landed on 35 watts of tube power or 50 watts of solid state certainly should get you exactly where you need to be. Arya uses a single M130 woofer to handle bass, and with its ported design and in my room, even with Arya pulled 9 feet into the room, I have no issue getting bass down to 50 hertz. With that being said, there are other Standmount speakers on the market that will play deeper bass than Arya, and if that is a deal breaker for you, then that's something that you should consider. So one of the things that Danny worked on was making sure the LGK 2.0 driver wasn't going to crap itself when you give it some juice. As good as that driver is, it does have a limited X-Max, so bringing the volume up and running at full range is going to come with consequences. Knowing this, we had to get bass off the back of that driver so it can play reasonably loud before distortion becomes a problem. At 250 hertz, which is our crossover point, this seemed to be the perfect place for that driver to sit and play plenty loud before anyone is going to run into any kind of issues. Now, I've pushed Arya to the point where both the M130 woofer and the LGK driver starts to compress, and those volume levels seem to be in the high 90s. So, folks, if you are interested in doing permanent damage to your ears and you enjoy the sound of tinnitus, these speakers are not for you. For those who listen up to the 80s and you might enjoy some dynamic swings into the 90s, well, Arya can do that without breaking a sweat. As you guys know, I am pretty obsessed with speaker placement, and pulling speakers deep into the room is commonplace for me. Now with Arya's rear-firing LGK driver, placement is even more critical, and in my experience, pulling the speaker at least 3 feet away from the wall is required and merely a starting point. I wish there was another way around this, but the truth is there are many other speaker designs out there that would be better suited for you if you can't pull Arya deeper into the room. I would also add that if you are restricted to that bare minimum of 3 feet, placing absorption or a diffuser behind the speaker is going to be a great idea. All right, All right, so this should give a good idea of what this speaker is all about, and of course, so much more is coming. As soon as we have completed samples of these speakers, I'll be showing you guys what they look like, and of course, covering all of the details that you guys can expect from me, ranging from sound clips to measurements, everything. And again, folks, this is just the first of 3 models that will be released under the new Record Day brand. The second model will be identical to Arya except for a larger M165 woofer and will be a floor standing speaker. Now that speaker will play deeper bass, and for folks who want Arya's sound signature but they don't want to sacrifice low end, well, there you go. Danny expects this model to play into the 40s, and I will keep you guys posted as we know more about how that speaker performs. As for the third model, which I am going to be calling Aurora, well, you guys know me, and I just couldn't sleep at night knowing we need to come up with something that is really over the top. This speaker will use the same Aria formula with the front and rear LGK drivers, but will use Danny's top-of-the-line 165 NQ driver for the lower mid-range. And here is the icing on the cake, folks. For bass and low-end information, we're thinking about using 3 8-inch servo-controlled woofers in a U-frame, and you better believe it, they're going to be open baffle. Now, that model is a little ways out, but again, as things take shape, you will be the first to know. In the meantime, Danny and I will be knocking out a live stream over the next few days after this video is posted, and we can use that time to cover anything that I missed and also answer any of the questions that you guys have. And with that, I will see you Arya-loving audiophiles in the next video. Gosh, I am so excited. I am so excited. And the trolls are going to show up and they're going to call me a shill. And, oh, everything you say about GR Research is great. Well, yeah, because everything that I've heard from GR Research is great. So, that's that. Deal with it.